And we're live. Hello, everyone.
Woo!
So we are here to talk about our super exciting new product, and Jeff is going to introduce that a little bit.
Yes. So welcome, everybody. Make sure everybody knows who's here. So I'm Jeff Udick. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, part of the Aduro team. And that's Kim. So Kim, you can introduce yourself. You're in Bangkok.
Hi, I'm Kim. I'm in Bangkok.
And Chrissy.
And I'm Chrissy, and I'm here in the lovely Western Australia, Perth.
And we're just really excited to kind of talk a little bit about our micro-credentials and kind of just give a quick, maybe 10, 15-minute conversation from us around the micro-credentials as we've put this together over probably been about a year, I guess, in planning and launching the micro-credentials and just supporting teachers in their own professional development. So I think the first question is what is a micro-credential? So Chrissy, I'm going to pick on you first. Like when you think of a micro-credential, like what comes to mind? How do you explain it to somebody? What's your elevator pitch?
Okay, so that means I have 3 minutes for my elevator pitch. It's a very, very tall building. So micro-credentials. When I think of micro-credentials, I think of learning a whole lot of things that relate to something that's really passionate about education. So I'm thinking straight off the top of my head about, I like to do lots of global collaboration. So I would really be interested in a micro-credential that would help me really get global collaboration going on at my school or in my classroom. So I think about all these things that could go together that help me learn how to maybe get started, get a project underway. How do I get the skills for myself and for my students to then be able to say, well, I'm a global collaborator and I have a micro-credential to show that I've worked really hard to get those skills. So then that also makes me think about a micro-credential as being something that's going to be really good for my curriculum vitae, and that when I'm applying for a position at a school, the administrators can see that I have consistently worked towards building my skills in a particular area that I'm passionate about. Micro-credentials means to me.
I love that. Go ahead, Kim.
When you were talking, Chrissy, it was making me think about how important it is that the micro-credentials are kind of individualized to your personal learning needs, and that even in being individualized to your personal needs, there's that documentation, that credential piece, that like award, for lack of a better word, at the end that shows that, okay, I had this. We all have personal goals for school, right? So like I had this personal goal that was professional for my learning. I was able to articulate what I wanted to do, go through a academic process of doing it, and then be awarded a micro-credential, a label at the end, which I think is really cool. So it's individualized, but it's also recognition.
Yeah, and I think you touch on a good point, Kim, is that the idea that it's academic and that all of our micro-credentials are, you have the option, if you would like, to, and no matter what option you pick, you need to know that all of our micro-credentials are backed by a university. Like we have had to submit a syllabus to Antioch University here in Seattle, where I happen to be, that has been approved at a 500 level. Like these are not just courses that are willy-nilly. Like there's actually an academic stamp behind them. And if you want to, I mean, if you don't want that, you don't have to get the credits, right? Like they cost more money because we have to pay for the credits through our end as well. You don't have to get that. But even if you do it for non-credit, know that the learning that you are doing, the process that you're going through is it's academically certified. And so a micro-credential is very much that idea that it's not a master's degree, but you did something that is worth putting a stamp on your resume, like you were saying, Chrissy. And what I love what you say, Chrissy, is like, you know, one of the things I find is you were talking very, very much, of course, about the connected classroom or the connected educator micro-credential that we're doing. And one of the things we hear all the time about technology is that technology has the potential to break down the walls of our classroom. And in order for that to happen, it means you as a teacher need to be connected. And I think that micro-credential specifically is about that. If you were a teacher who is like, I believe that technology's job is to knock down the walls of the classroom. You first have to be a connected educator. And this micro-credential, I think, really helps you understand what that means, helps you get connected, helps you find the millions of other educators that are waiting to connect with you out there. Like, to me, that, and it does it in a way that is like academically certified. So you can put it on your resume and say, look, not only do I know how to do this, I went through a program that I can put on my resume or my via, and say, I did this. So I love that idea.
Yeah. And what I really like is that can be something that you do for your professional development that you really want to do. So often we go to professional development because we have to, because it might be something that your school or district is focusing on. The thing about our micro-credentials that I really am excited about is that you get to choose what matters to you. Yeah. And if we don't have a micro-credential of things that matter to you, then you can let us know and we'll build it.
Yeah, that's what I love,
if it's relevant to you, it's relevant to other people.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. Yeah, I love that idea. Exactly. So Kim, kind of talking about this idea of who should take a micro-credential. Like, I understand they're not for everybody. I mean, we also offer, one-off courses. If you just, you have 3 weeks or you have 1 week that you can commit to your own professional development. Who's the person that, like, if you're really thinking about a micro-credential, who really do you feel like this is targeted to?
I think Chrissy tapped into it a little bit in her intro, but I think the person that is best suited for our micro-credential is somebody who's really interested in learning more about a certain aspect of education that maybe they don't have access to on an everyday basis. And Chrissy talked a lot about being a connected educator and having your classroom connect to the world. Well, maybe you're in a situation in school where you really want to do something innovative in your classroom, but you don't have any collaborative partners next to you, or you don't have access to the right kind of resources to really help you move along that path. So you have a goal, you want to get somewhere, and you just need a mentor, you need a guide, and you need the resources to get you to that place. That's what our micro-credentials are. They're like a shortcut to getting to where you want to go.
I love that. And let's talk about, Chrissy touched on the connected educator, which is the micro-credential she's kind of overseeing and being a mentor for. And you're being the mentor for our coaching micro-credential. Why do you think this micro-credential is so important, especially right now where we are in education?
I think there are so many coaching positions opening up at schools, whether it's a full-time coaching position with just one school or whether it's a coaching position over a whole district or multiple schools. There are so many classroom teachers that are super excited and passionate about whatever they're coaching, whether it's technology or literacy or science or whatever the case may be. They're really passionate about their subject area and they're excellent classroom teachers, but now they have to level up and be leaders to their peers in a way that perhaps they haven't been in the past.
Yeah.
Getting those skills and changing that dynamic and understanding how that changes your relationship with your colleagues is a whole kind of side element of coaching that often isn't addressed when you're really great at doing it in your classroom. And it's clear you would be really great helping other teachers. There's another level of consideration that needs to be thought about as you're moving into that position. And so that's what this course is all about. It's taking your classroom proficiency and leveling up and being a leader in your school or district.
Yeah. And I think, you touch on a really key point that a lot of times you end up in a coaching position because you were the person in your district that was really good with technology, or you really understood math and you had your kids doing really well in math. And so next thing you know, the district or the school comes to you and says, you would make a great coach. And I think, all three of us have been in coaching roles before. And maybe Chrissy, you can talk to this. Like, when you go into a coaching role, it's not, you don't have a classroom of 27 kids. Adults are different learners. And maybe you talk about like the importance of understanding really what this micro-credential, and Kim is running the micro-credential, is overseeing it. She's going to be the mentor for this micro-credential. But maybe Chrissy, even from your point of view, like what the importance of getting a micro-credential like this, if you're in that coaching role, to understand those differences.
Well, I was actually thinking about that when Kim was talking, because it made me think of when I was that person. I was that person that was in the classroom doing some really neat things with kids and technology, and I got told, you would make a great coach. And next thing you know, I'm out of the classroom and I'm in a coaching role. I wish I wish that there had been this coaching micro-credential for me to go through, because as Jeff said and as Kim pointed out, it really is a next level up. There's some skills that you have with kids and using technology or math or science or literacy or whatever it is that role that you're going into. You have those with kids, but working with adults is not the same. We'd like to think it is, but it really isn't. And I can tell you, I've been really heavily involved in putting all the micro-credentials together, and I know I'm very passionate about the connected teacher, but the coaching micro-credential, that's one heck of a micro-credential. And if you are seriously thinking about going into some sort of coaching role or specialist role, then that really is the micro-credential for you. It's got some really interesting, powerful strategies, some things that you really don't think about when you're going into that role, like how do you have those really tough conversations? Because believe you me, in that role you are going to have some of those tough conversations, and if you're anything like me, you don't want to have those conversations. So that micro-credential really prepares you. And I'd even go as far as to say, if you're already in that role and you've been in that role for a while, it's still a really good micro-credential for you to go through, because you will walk away with a lot more in your toolbox than you had going in, even if you're a really good coach already.
Yeah. And I want to throw one thought in there too. If you're in a leadership position in your school, in terms of like middle leadership, like head of department, we've had lots of heads of departments and teams of heads of departments go through parts of this micro-credential. It hasn't been launched yet, so they haven't done the whole thing, but they've done parts of it here and there. And they've done it as a team, like to help that, because as a head of department or in a middle leadership role in schools, you are effectively a coach. It may not be in your title, but that's what you're doing. You're coaching your department members. So if that is your area too, even if you're not titled a coach, but if you have that kind of leadership role, this could be a really good fit for you too.
Yeah. And I love that idea. I mean, we know that, part of why we're launching these micro-credentials, and there's going to be a specific time period where, we open up registration, and then you are going to be, for lack of a better term, we call them cohorts. You're going to go through cohorts together. And I think we understand, especially with online learning systems, that idea of going through something together with other people is really, really important. And I think in both of those micro-credentials, both the connected educator and the coach, knowing that you're going through this and learning with other people and being able to bounce ideas is so important. And to me, that's the difference between a micro-credential and a one-off class. Like, this is a long-term commitment, and you're building relationships outside of your classroom or people that are doing something very similar to you, that is different. So I think that for me is one thing that I'm truly passionate about these micro-credentials, is this idea of creating a community around people who are passionate or wanting to learn around the same stuff. And with that, Kim, what else would you say are some of the big things that people can look forward to when they take a micro-credential from us? What are some other things they're going to get out of this besides that idea of community?
I think we've been kind of mentioning it a little bit as we talk, but this idea of a mentor. So each micro-credential has a specifically assigned mentor, and there's different kind of levels of the size of the community that you want. So if you're looking for a larger community, we have one level that's called the Academy, and that will have 3 mentors, one for each micro-credential. And that person is like your one-on-one coach as you go through the micro-credential experience. And then if you're looking for a really small, really close connection with your mentor, Chrissy, Jeff, and I are the mentors for the premium level, I think is what we called it.
Yes.
I should know that. Yes, okay, good. So the idea of having a mentor to kind of guide you as you take this academic course and as you're implementing all of these things in your classroom, that you have that person you can kind of bounce ideas off of, and you'll get regular contact from them. You'll also have live Q&A sessions, kind of similar to this, but they're live, where you can ask questions with your other cohort members. So that idea that you have a community, small or large, depending on what is preferable to you, and that you have that mentor to guide you and inspire you and kind of push your thinking further, I think that is a really valuable element in this whole process.
Mm. How about you, Chrissy? What do you think? What are some other things that you can expect to get out of this micro-credential?
I think aside from that community, which is probably the best thing about taking a micro-credential, is that you get quality content. Everything that we share with you has been checked by us. It's either been created by us or it's been sourced from really good sources. So the things that we're going to share with you are right at the forefront of where research is. And the other really cool thing about all of the courses that make up the micro-credentials is that when we ask you to do something, it's something practical and relevant that you can do in your class. And so, or wherever you may be, even if you don't have a class of students, your students may be fellow teachers or colleagues. So the things that we get you to do are not just busy work, they're actual action tasks that add to what you've been reading about, what you've been learning about, what you've been discussing with your peers in your cohort. So I think that's a really important facet of each of the courses throughout the micro-credentials.
I like that, because I like that idea, and I think it's something that we, the three of us, and just Eduro Learning in general, has always focused on, is understanding that professional development needs to be reflective in nature. And I love, even in our notes as I'm reading them, the mentor's job is to inspire, engage, and share experience, and not to assess. As mentors, like Kim mentioned, all three of us are going to be at the premium level, taking people through if you'd like to have access to us. And even at the academic level, you're going to have access to a mentor who is here to help and support you in doing exactly what you said, Chrissy. Everything we do is something relevant tomorrow. You're not going to write a 40-page paper that you have to turn into a professor. That's not what these courses are about. They're very much about being in the classroom or in your situation and helping and providing some mentorship throughout that process. And I think with that, one of the things that either can scare you or makes you really, really excited, I think, is how long a micro-credential takes. I'm just thinking back, if I was a teacher right now saying, oh my gosh, if I could only have Chrissy for a year, I'd love that. And I think, to me, that's exactly what this would be. Or my gosh, I would love, as I'm starting this coaching role, or I've been a coaching for a while and I'm finding myself in a situation where I'm just not making the difference. If only I could have Kim Cafino in my back pocket for a year to talk me through these situations. And that's really what these micro-credentials are. We're talking we're talking a year of one-on-one mentorship, right? Pretty close.
Not quite. 26 weeks or
26 weeks.
26, 27, 28, depending on which micro-credential you take. But then, of course, that's not to say that you still don't have us in your back pocket after that 26, 27, 28 weeks goes, because I know that some of the courses that I've facilitated, I'm still in contact with people who have taken those courses, because you do form some lasting relationships and add to your personal learning networks in any of the courses that you take from us. So it's probably more than a year.
Yeah, well, it's true. And I mean, 26 weeks is like a school year. It's almost an entire
pretty
school
much,
year.
It's
I mean, it's you basically get access, to, you get access to it all, to the community for, for a long time, but, you get access to I mean, if you're a starting out coach and you have Kim Cafino to go to when that day when the teachers won't open their door is really interesting, or that day when, you know, you really found a project that you want kids to connect on. And only if I knew somebody who, like Chrissy, can find me a connection and help me get started in that, you know, to know that that person is there to help you as you get started and to show you the ropes a little bit, I hope is something that people that want to take these micro-credentials really see as a benefit. And again, you know, the three of us are at the premium level, but then we also have other mentors at the academic level. And again, if you don't feel like you need a mentor and you just want to be part of a community, you can do that as well. And of course, all of those are different costs based on people's time.
And Jeff hasn't mentioned, but he's the mentor for the one-to-one teacher. And that one is all about like the tools and techniques and strategies for managing that one-to-one classroom, for going into a one-to-one environment and thinking about this as being an academic year. You'll get access starting in October, and ideally you'll be finished by the beginning of June, end of May. And so to have Jeff, as he's being so kind to us, have Jeff in your back pocket as you go through perhaps your first year in a one-to-one setting, like just think about all of the tips and tools and hacks that he has developed over his like 20 years of being in one-to-one classrooms. Having that access for a whole school year, I think,
it would be amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And you don't have to be in a one-to-one environment either. Even if you're in a situation where you have regular access to a fair amount of technology, you could take that one-to-one course and get so much out of it, including Jeff Udick in your back pocket.
So that's we're just going to wrap this up because we don't want to make this too long, but I think hopefully this just helps a little bit. People understand micro-credentials a little bit more, how the three of us as kind of the founders and the founding partners of Eduro Learning kind of see them. And we really hope that maybe this gives you a little more insight into hopefully our passion behind these micro-credentials. And hopefully we'll see you within a micro-credential soon. So with that, we will say, hope to see you around on the network. Bye, everyone.
Well, if you want to check out micro-credentials, though, you need to go to edurolearning.com.
That's good plug.
Awesome.